Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive, this time into the world of supersonic flight. We're going to be looking at not just the technology, but what it could mean for travel and business and, yeah, especially for you.
Really fascinating stuff, especially when you consider the historical context.
Right. And for today's deep dive, we're going to be looking at this article from Boom Supersonic about their demonstrator aircraft, the XB-1, breaking the sound barrier. Now, what really caught my eye was that this is the first independently developed supersonic jet to do this, which has previously only ever been achieved by, government-funded projects.
Yeah, and that's really significant because it suggests a potential shift. Private companies like Boom could be at the forefront of a supersonic travel resurgence. Imagine the implications for the U.S. economy and its global position in aviation.
Mind-blowing, isn't it? And the XB-1 isn't just a cool plane.
Yeah.
It's paving the way for Boom's flagship supersonic airliner Overture.
It's a test bed for all sorts of cutting-edge tech. And some of these advancements, they could really revolutionize the passenger experience. For example, the XB-1 uses an augmented reality vision system for landing. No more clunky Concorde-style drooping nose.
I was going to say, what about the nose?
Yeah, so this kind of innovation, it makes supersonic flight safer and more efficient, too.
Well, let's talk about Overture then. Boom is aiming for it to carry 64 to 80 passengers at Mach 1.7. That's twice the speed of current airliners on over 600 global routes. Imagine you could fly from New York to London in under 4 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that even mean for business travel?
Well, think about it this way. If you're a business leader and you need to be in multiple cities all over the globe, those time savings could be game-changing. It could fundamentally alter how international business is conducted.
It makes you wonder, could this shift the balance of power in the industry? The last supersonic passenger jet, the Concorde, was a European venture, right? But with Boom and their order book from major U.S. airlines like American and United, could we be seeing a new era of U.S. dominance in air travel?
It's certainly a possibility. If the U.S. can successfully develop and commercialize supersonic travel technology, it could have a ripple effect throughout the whole aviation ecosystem. Think manufacturing jobs, technological advancements, a boost to related industries, things like materials science and fuel production.
It's like a chain reaction of economic benefits stemming from this one technological leap.
And don't forget about tourism and global connectivity. Faster travel times mean it's easier and potentially more affordable for people to experience different cultures and do business all over the world.
It seems like this technology could have implications not just for the U.S. economy, but for the entire world.
Absolutely, and it all hinges on Boom's ability to make Overture a reality, to go from concept to reality.
Speaking of which, let's dive deeper into Overture's design and capabilities. What are some of the features that make it stand out? And how do they contribute to this potential U.S.-led supersonic resurgence?
One of the things that stands out with Overture is its design. It's sleek and aerodynamic, and it's built with lightweight carbon fiber composites. And that not only makes it lighter, it contributes to its strength and fuel efficiency.
It sounds like they're really pushing the boundaries of material science. Could that be part of the U.S. advantage here, this expertise in these advanced materials?
Absolutely. I mean, the U.S. has a long history of innovation in aerospace materials. Think about Boeing and Lockheed Martin. They've been leading the way in composite tech for decades. That expertise is invaluable when it comes to building a supersonic aircraft. It's got to withstand incredible stresses at high speeds.
Yeah. What about the engines? Supersonic flight requires a ton of power, but then there's also the issue of noise, especially those sonic booms.
Right. Engine tech is critical. Boom is working with Rolls-Royce to develop new turbofan engines just for Overture. And they're not just powerful, but designed to minimize noise and emissions.
So it's not just about going fast. It's about going fast sustainably and responsibly.
Exactly. And that commitment to sustainability is another area where the U.S. could lead the way. Developing quieter, more fuel-efficient supersonic aircraft sets a new standard for the industry.
And maybe attract those eco-conscious passengers and investors.
Precisely. Sustainability is super important for consumers and businesses these days. If the U.S. can establish itself as a leader in sustainable supersonic technology, it'll have significant economic and geopolitical advantages.
This all sounds great, but are there any downsides to this U.S.-centric approach to supersonic travel? Could it create new challenges or dependencies?
That's a great question. While there's huge potential for U.S. leadership here, it's crucial to be aware of possible pitfalls. For instance, relying too much on one country for critical technology or resources could create vulnerabilities in the supply chain.
What about working with other countries? Is there a risk of the U.S. becoming too isolated in this pursuit of supersonic dominance?
It's a good point. While the U.S. has a lot to offer in terms of technology and know-how, international collaboration is essential for moving forward. Sharing knowledge and resources leads to faster innovation and more reliable solutions.
It sounds like it's a balancing act between competition and cooperation.
You got it. The U.S. needs to use its strengths, but also stay open to partnerships and working with other countries. That'll be key to make sure supersonic travel is successful and sustainable for the long haul.
So this isn't just a tech race, it's also geopolitical. The stakes are high and the effects are far-reaching.
Definitely. Developing and bringing supersonic travel to the market is a complex thing with both big opportunities and potential challenges. How the U.S. handles this will really impact the future of aviation and its place in the global economy.
We've been focusing on the technology and the economics. But what about the human side of things? How might supersonic travel change our lives on a personal level?
Now, that's a really interesting thought. Just imagine you could have breakfast in New York, attend a meeting in London, and be back home for dinner with your family. This kind of time compression could totally change how we live, work, and interact with the world.
It's almost like science fiction coming to life.
Yeah, in a way it is. And it brings up all sorts of questions about how we adjust to this new reality. How do we deal with maybe more stress and fatigue from all that long-distance travel? How do we hold on to a sense of place and connection when we can fly around the world in just a few hours?
Those are big questions that go way beyond the technical stuff. We need to start thinking about the social and psychological impacts of this technology, not just the economic ones.
Absolutely. As supersonic travel gets closer to becoming something we see every day, it's really important to consider its effects on society and make sure this technology helps humanity in a positive and sustainable way.
It's definitely something to think about. But let's bring it back to Boom Supersonic and what they're trying to do. They've got a lot of work to do, from getting the rules and regulations right to dealing with how the public sees supersonic travel. Do you think they can pull it off?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Boom's got a talented team and they've got the money, but it's a long and difficult road ahead.
So what will determine whether they make it or not? So there are a lot of challenges facing Boom. What would you say are like the biggest hurdles they need to overcome to actually make Overture a reality?
Well, I'd say there are three main challenges: getting regulatory approval, figuring out how to produce these planes on a large scale, and then actually getting people to fly on them, market acceptance. So first off, regulations. We talked about how supersonic flight over land is banned in the U.S. because of sonic booms. For Overture to really change the game, those rules need to change.
And Boom is saying that Overture will have quieter sonic booms, right? Do you think that will be enough to convince regulators and the public?
It's a good start. Boom says Overture sonic booms will be way quieter than Concorde's, maybe even impossible to hear on the ground. But that's only part of it. They have to prove this technology is reliable and safe, and then they have to get policymakers to agree that the benefits of supersonic travel outweigh the risks.
That's a tough one for sure. What about actually making the planes? Building a supersonic airliner isn't like making cars, right?
Definitely not. Ramping up production for a complex aircraft like Overture is a huge task. You need special facilities, highly skilled workers, and a solid supply chain. Any problems along the way could cause delays and blow up the budget.
And even if they can build them, will people actually fly on them? There's the cost, of course, but will supersonic travel really appeal to enough people?
Right, that's the market acceptance piece. Boom is going after business travelers, people who value speed and efficiency, but they'll need to convince enough of them that the high price is worth it. And they also have to address concerns about the environmental impact.
They've said they're committed to using sustainable aviation fuel. Do you think that's enough to win over people who care about the environment?
It's a big selling point for sure. If Boom can actually make Overture carbon neutral, it could become a more environmentally friendly choice compared to regular long-haul flights. But they'll need to be upfront about their sustainability plans and back them up with solid evidence.
So it sounds like whether Boom succeeds or not depends on a lot of things. Technological innovation, regulatory changes, the economy, and how the public feels about it all. What do you think? Are you optimistic about their chances?
I think it's too soon to say for sure. It's a difficult challenge, but the payoff could be huge. If Boom can clear these hurdles, they could launch a new era of supersonic travel that changes how we connect with the world.
And if they do succeed, it'll be a huge win, not just for Boom, but for the U.S. economy and its role as a leader in aviation technology. We talked about how developing Overture could create jobs, spark innovation, and boost all kinds of industries.
And globally, the return of supersonic travel could really speed up globalization, leading to more collaboration and cultural exchange. It could even change how we think about time and distance, making the world feel smaller than ever before.
That's an incredible thought, both exciting and a little bit unknown. As we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you'd want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing to remember is this. The future of supersonic travel is not just about technology. It's about the choices we make as a society. Will we embrace this technology and its potential to change the world? Or will we back away from the challenges and risks that come with it? The answers to those questions will determine whether supersonic flight stays a luxury for a few or becomes a transformative force in the 21st century.
It really gives you a lot to think about. Thanks for joining us on this exploration into the world of supersonic flight. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep looking ahead to what's possible.